I stayed unconscious 3.5 weeks. And when I awoke, I knew I was in the hospital. It took me another couple of weeks to figure out the full extent of all my injuries, which include loss of my left leg above my knee, loss of my left hand and part of the arm below the elbow, loss of all the fingers on my right hand, loss of all my sense of smell, most of my hearing, and both of my eyes. Realization of that time that I was totally blind and probably will be the rest of my life was like a second bomb exploding in my face. But to crank the intensity lever up a notch or two, one day my mother, God rest her soul, who had been a nurse for over 25 years at that time, tells me, Milton, the rehabilitation counselors are coming to your room today to evaluate you. They'll have a plan you can use to get your life back together. Well, buddy, this perked me right up. I mean, somebody was actually going to come to my hospital room with all the answers to all the questions I had on how and what I needed to do to get my life back on track. Shortly after lunch that day, my first wife tells me by hollering in my ear, "The rehab people are here," and she backs away from my bed. I felt the door to my room open from the wind coming in from the hallway. I felt footsteps walk in, and believe me, I felt the eyes on me. Somebody, I don't know who, but somebody walked to the left side of my bed and scooped up my stump leg and held it for a few moments like they were examining it, and then dropped it like it was a piece of garbage. And as quickly as I had felt those footsteps walk in, I felt them walk out. Now me, I'm still grinning like an idiot when I say, "Well, what are they going to do for me, honey?" And when I touch my first wife, at first I thought she was trembling. But then when I pulled her close to me, I realized she was crying. And I asked her, "What's wrong? What does people say? Tell me what the cornbread hell's going on." And in between her sobs, she puts her mouth to my ear and tells me, "They said there's nothing they can do for you. They said you're beyond rehabilitating." Now, freeze that moment. Try real hard to see yourself in your mind's eye and put yourself in my shoes, or my shoe as it was. What would you have thought? Would you have been disappointed? No doubt. Depressed? More than likely. Devastated? You could bet your life on that. I was all those things and so much more, because what those so-called rehabilitation experts had just done was confirm my worst fear. They really did tell me I was completely and totally helpless, hopeless, and useless. And to say the least, I was bummed out. I was so upset, so depressed. The reality of all this came crashing in on me. It was more depressing than figuring out I was totally blind. What was I going to do? How was I going to do it? And I dwelled on that. I dwelled on it for almost 8 hours. And about 7:30 that night, I heard some other words. Words that my father had said to me most of my life. And what my dad used to say was simply this: "Son, as long as you have a breath of life in you, you can work on changing the things that don't please you. And the only time it's ever too late is when they shovel that dirt over you.